Okay, in this video we're going to rebuild the whole front end at once. We're replacing the wheel bearing. We are replacing the vacuum hub. That's right there. We are putting a new strut in. We are putting in an upper control arm and replacing the lower control arm. So I guess at this point we're going to start by removing the caliper, and then we're going to remove the rotor, and then keep this shit show going. We remove the caliper by removing a bolt right there, and then bolt right there. I already got them out. I'm going to peel the caliper off. We're going to hang it up somewhere. We need to remove that 13mm nut at the front. Most likely your rotor's rusted on, as you can see by mine. That's all the rust from hitting it with a hammer. Then we can pull the rotor off, and then we're almost ready to yank the bearing out. Alright, let's get the steering linkage off. Fuck off, camera. That's taken care of. At this point, you want to make sure your ABS line's disconnected. My line's pulled off right there. There's 4 bolts for the wheel bearing. One there, one there, one there, and one down below the line right there. We're going to pull those out and then knock this wheel bearing out. There we go. She's coming. She's coming. There we go. She's out. Alright, let's see if we get the strut nut off. Holy mother of God. Fuck, it did come out. Pulling the sway bar link off. Just have the nut, just have the wrench rest against part of the frame. That way you don't have to hold it with both hands. Spin that off. Okay, before we can get the strut out, need to remove the 3 bolts for the strut bearing. And I already got the bolt out there, so we're ready to rock and roll once we get those 3 out. Give it a turn like that. Oh, there we go. She's out. Let's pull the nut off the bottom. She's loose. I'm just pulling the bolts out for the lower control arm. Got the lower control arm out at the back. I can pull this thing forward, get my axle out. Once my axle's out, I can finish taking off the nut and pull the lower control arm out. Alright, removing the nuts off the vacuum hub is a number 8mm. We're going to spin those off, and then you will have to give this thing a little tap with a hammer, but it just pulls out like that. You can see all the dirt and shit in there. We need to clean that up, and we need to clean the axle up. I got my surfaces all clean. I'm ready to stick in the new one. We got the vacuum hub put in, so let's move on to getting that sway bar link out. Sway bar link is transferred over. It is a little bit painful. You may have to use a vice grip on the back side when you get the nut almost off, and then get it started because it'll just spin. Now we're ready to put the lower control arm in. The lower control arm in, I still gotta snug up the bolts in the front. One thing you want to do when you put the control arm in is to make sure your sway bar link goes through the sway bar, otherwise it's going to be a bitch to redo it all just to get it to fit. It's not very fun. So you're going to see right there, We're gonna closely line these up as close to the old tabs as we can. We're still gonna have to take it in and get the alignment done, but this will take us pretty close. Now we've got the control arm on the bottom buttoned up. We're gonna remove the upper one. Okay, we're not saving this, so all we gotta do is just bang her out. Perfect. Pull this out of the way. They are kind of tight in there, so don't be surprised you gotta do the double wrench trick just to break them free. At this stage we're ready to put the upper control arm in, but we're not going to tighten it till everything's assembled, because we got to put some weight under it and then fully tighten up the control arm to get the proper load on it. Control arm bolts are just snug but still loose. Now the most dreaded part, removing the spring from the strut. Once again we get to this point where we're going to have to cut the top of the strut off in order to get the spring out. This fucking sucks balls. Not under any circumstances whatsoever try to remove the spring without having spring compressors on. Could probably most likely fucking kill yourself. There we are, we're out. And safe so far. Okay, I got the new strut out. We're going to start transferring everything over and get it ready to bolt up. Oh, I got this cocksucking thing all built now, and I'm going to take the spring compressor off and fucking install it. Alright. Try to get this strut squeezed back in there. The fuck in there, you dirty cocksucker. There, I think we're pretty close now. Yeah, feels like I'm right in the money. Now it's safe to say we can put this axle back in. Now we can put the upper control arm on. And we're gonna have to jack up the bottom end. I got my jack underneath, so now I can focus on tightening up this and then tightening up the control arms. Well, I got weight underneath with the jack. Tighten up the control arms. Stage in the game, double check everything. We got the strut tightened. We got the sway bar link tightened. We got the lower ball joint tightened. We got the upper ball joint tightened. Control arms tightened. Tighten down there, tighten down there. Struts tightened up top with the nuts. I guess we're ready to put the wheel bearing in and almost ready to call it a day. Make sure your wheel bearing's super greased up before you stick her back in. Make sure the spline's got lots of grease, and around here you got a layer of grease in it. Well, got it all back together. Gonna have to look at replacing brake line pretty soon because they're starting to corrode. I ran the new ABS line up, it's plugged in. Vacuum line's plugged in. Everything's tight, looks like we're ready to rock and roll. Holy crap, what a big job, but I'm done. All my tools are cleaned up. Alright, it's motherfucking beer time, that's what time it is. I'm going to end my video there on rebuilding the front end. That's a big motherfucking job, and not one I'd want to do again anytime soon. The Jeep was way easier to rebuild the front end than it was on this Ford F-150. But anyways, it's motherfucking beer time. I gotta get an alignment done and probably replace the calipers and rotors because they look like they're in pretty sad shape. If you have any questions or comments, post them below. Otherwise, thanks for watching.